In today's podcast episode of the Cattle USA Daily Podcast, we are breaking down the markets with John Campbell once again. It's been a minute since we had John on, but with travel schedules and the holidays and everything else, it's just schedules didn't fully align. But John is back and he is bringing the market report to us and some candid conversation surrounding the plant closure in Lexington, Nebraska that was recently released. And then also we touch on Brazilian beef imports, the tariffs surrounding those, and everything like that. John gives a very candid conversation about everything that is happening in the cattle industry and what we can anticipate going forward. Before we get into this podcast episode with John, if you are watching on YouTube, if you could take a second to make sure that you subscribe to our channel and like this episode, we would really appreciate it. And to all of our listeners listening on any podcast platforms, make sure that you take a second to follow the show and that you go take a second to rate and review it as well. We really appreciate it here at the team. Without further ado, let's go ahead and hear from John. John, it has been entirely too long since we have chatted. The holidays had us all over the place, and now you and I are switching roles. You're in the office today. I'm the one in the car parked on the side of the interstate doing our podcast today. It's nice to switch roles up a little bit.
Well,
How have you been?
I'm terrific. I'm terrific. We gathered all of our family up and all of our kids and kind of left the country for a while. And believe me, I am glad to be back. I am not a short pants and sunscreen kind of guy, if you can believe that. However, my wife did comment I was trotting around the house with my Speedo, and she thought, boy, oh boy, your legs really got tanned.
Boy, it's no longer like you walk in and you're like, oh, I'm blinded by
No,
the ghost
it's
sitting in
still
front of me.
that, but now it's tanned instead of just white.
Okay, I'm following. That's fair. Honestly, that makes total sense. Did you take your straw hat down with you and everything?
No,
And
but my son-in-law did. He never leaves home without his straw hat. He wears his straw
love
hat
it.
in the pool, and if he was a stampede string guy, he'd have wore it in the ocean.
That's too good. Well, we are happy to have you back. I am excited to hear just your thoughts on everything kind of going on in the world right now. We've had a lot happen in the past few weeks, but before we get into that, what happened in Lahana this week? Give us kind of the rundown on how the sale went.
Well, real quickly, I want to let everyone know that that is actually where Lauren keeps her cigarettes. Now, she has tried to tell me that is a substitute for a nicotine patch, but I know better, because if you'll notice, she's got the window cracked right over there, and every once in a while she'll turn her head and blow a little smoke out. But that is a
My gosh.
microphone for those of you over the age of 65 that have no idea what the hell she's got strapped on her chest there next to those big buttons.
John wasn't sure if it was a microphone or a little one of those alert buttons, like I
Yeah.
need help, I've fallen and I can't get up. So, I mean, it can be whatever you want it to be.
Depending on where you're
Maybe
parked, of course. Now, if you park where I
yes.
park, you need a first alert, especially as old as I am. You probably pick a little better place to park, and not quite the gangster activity as there would be in the Costco dumpster at Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Yeah. I can say with full confidence that I feel a little bit more secure and safe with my parking location than you were a few weeks ago. So I think we're good on that number.
Okay. All right. And
Oh,
only I
geez.
know exactly where you're at, and I will not disclose it.
Yeah, you can't give away my secrets, John. Come on now. I might need to park here again.
Everybody's got their little spot they pull over and, pull down a few.
My gosh. Jeez.
Okay,
Okay,
all
John.
right,
What
all right,
happened in
all right.
Lahana this week?
Okay, that's enough of the icebreaker. What's going on in Atlanta? Not a lot going on last week, so with the holiday shortened week, so nothing really to report on, other than we did have a really nice cow sale back November 21st, so just a couple weeks ago, over 3,000 pregnancy tested cows and bred heifers, and really pretty refreshing. The market that came out, in the midst of all the turmoil and all of that, you can always kind of get back to the stock cows, and that's where the rubber meets the road, because you're dealing with hands-on stocker producers, cow calf guys that are the heart and soul of our business, and they don't have any preconceived ideas about what has just happened or market psychology or what the government's doing, and that's in their mind. But you really get it's what a public auction is all about, because you're dealing with producers and just the heart and soul of our industry, and they really responded, and results were, as you can imagine, plus some. We had a huge crowd, lots of outstanding cows, bred heifers, and really a great test of the market. These young cows, kind of 4,000 up to $4,800, and I'd be talking about quite a few of them. The biggest percentage of the volume would have traded hands in that range on the young 3, 4, 5-year-old cows. These solid mouth cows, kind of 32, 3, 4 up to 37, 800. The old cows, maybe not quite as zippy as what we saw 2 months ago, but because some of the edges come off of the calf trade and the yearling trade, and those guys that are buying old cows they're not getting married to them for very long. They're treating them like a stocker or a yearling, and they're going to turn those cattle over after they calve. So kind of 24 to 2,900 on the old pregnancy tested cows. Not a lot of bred heifers on the market, but what that we did have pretty good competition. I'd say the bulk of the bred heifers would bring 36 to 3,900. We had one set up to 42 and a half. So all in all, really good stock cow market. We will have another stock cow sale here in La Junta. It'll be a good one, December the 9th. So we're looking for between 3,000 and 4,000 pregnancy tested cows right here at Winter Live in La Junta on Friday the 19th. So several cow herd dispersals. We'll have some registered cows, big strings of registered cows, and be a time here before the end of the year you can spend some of that money you've made.
Absolutely. It's kind of refreshing to hear a little bit of a positive take about what has happened in the markets the last few weeks. It's been really volatile. Things have been all over the place, but it's refreshing to hear from you, John, and you say like, "Hey, we're still running in the cattle business. We've got people here that at the end of the day, we're still cattlemen. We obviously are affected by things that are happening in the world right now, but at the end of the day, we have to buy and sell cows,
Yep.
and that's what people are still doing right now."
Yep. Nuts and bolts, supply and demand, without any interference from the commodity market, the packers, the AMAs, you name it. You're just dealing with the salt of the earth people, and that's the real market.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, kind of on that note, what are your thoughts on all of the current events that we've had happen over the past few weeks? We've got a packing plant closure in Nebraska. We've got Brazilian beef tariffs being taken back off, that 40% being taken back off. And we've got just so many other things happening in the world right now. Just what are your thoughts on everything that's kind of happened recently?
It's interesting, the closure, and this has been talked about and hashed and rehashed, and the whys and the what fors and the this and that. But my take on it, Tyson's Lexington, Nebraska plant. I thought it was interesting that they closed that plant because the only place in the country really of any significance where the numbers are up as far as on feed numbers are Nebraska and Iowa, and they both got more cattle on feed there than they did this time last year, and actually some historical highs. So let's close the plant in Lexington, Nebraska. Okay, but the closure of the plant, you just look back on it, and the next day or the next week, Monday, why the backer was able to buy cattle $10, $15 a hundred cheaper. Just off the psychology of that and the negative effect of that, why uh, pretty, but a pretty big dent in the closure, just buying all the fat cattle $10 a hundred cheaper. And it was an older plant. And at the end of the day, you close it because they don't have enough volume to keep it open. The volume is all still going to get killed somewhere. But if you go back into previous podcasts that I've had, I stated several times that these plant closures and slowdowns were on their way. And if anybody's following along, and it's not that I'm so smart, it's just that we've seen this game played out before, and you can't, there. Next comes the deal, and granted, we're in shorter numbers, and that kind of helps. But boy, Lauren, we can't buy your fat cattle because boy, we got no place to kill them. We close that plant now. You'll have to keep them or feed them a little bit longer, or else we could buy them a little cheaper if you'll pay the freight to pack a plant in Texas or somewhere, and you'll it's the same game. It's just a different excuse. Numbers are tight, and that, like I said, it is really going to help. Now you watch, the games will begin with what inventory we've got. That rather than pay up, for the local producer, why let's depress the price and ship Nebraska and Iowa cattle even more so than they're doing now, all the way down to Texas to kill them, and then also raise the price to the retailer because, well, we've had a plant shut down, and we've got this big supply that we need to, uh, work through, and or we don't have as big a supply because the kill capacity is down, and so they'll kind of go hand to mouth and don't plan. I guess what I'm saying on the beef getting a hell of a lot cheaper. So, last Monday, as I mentioned, we had fat cattle that were traded at 210, and the cutout was at 350. And by Friday, why, they thugged all they could at 210, and just supply and demand, they had to go to 220. So that's $150 a head on a 1,500 pounder in 5 days. Whether it's up or whether it's down, and I'll get into that a little later, but it's these dramatic shifts that we're seeing within a course of days, or essentially within a course of minutes. And so I thought it would be interesting. Let's kind of look back at where we've been over the last 30 days. In Pratt, Kansas, feeder cattle, heart of the world. We're a calf market here, but you're in the thick of it when you're in Pratt, when you're in Salina, Kansas. On October the 16th, we sold 800-pound steers in Pratt, Kansas for $4 a pound. Roll forward to November the 16th, 30 days later, the same steer brings $3.45 a head. That's $55 a hundred, $440 a head. Do you look at the January feeders? October the 16th, they traded at 378. 30 days later, $3.15 on November 16th was the close. That's $63 a hundred, $504 a head difference. The fat cattle on the 16th were priced at 241. 30 days later, November the 21st, as I mentioned, they're priced at 210. That's $31 a hundred, $465 a head. In the meantime, the carcass cutout value was at 365. October the 16th, November the 21st, it was at 371, up 7 cents. We've had $400 and $500 swings below the carcass stage, and the meat stayed exactly the same. The producers took $440 less for their feeder cattle. The feedlot operators, the fat cattle salesmen, took $465 less for their fat cattle, and the packer sold all the meat for the same price. And it wasn't like we saw big swings in the meat market like we did in the live cattle. The problem, in my opinion, is not so much to do with how high the cattle actually got or where they dropped down to. It's all about these huge swings in values over such a short time frame. Yeah, that was great. They went to $4 a pound. But, in the beef production phase, the last 6 to 8 months, or even longer if you're in cow calf man, we absolutely, unequivocally cannot deal with these $400 and $500 swings, whether it's up or down. Not in our business. We don't have the packer luxury of completely re-inventorying every 3 days. where, oh, yeah, we can change our price in 3 days. We'll kill them today. They're out. They only own the cattle for 3 days. We can't withstand those kind of moves in an industry where you're locked in 6, 8 months, a year at a time. Like I said, like the packer can, where you can re-inventory, or worse yet, the huge futures speculation accounts that can jump in and out of our cattle market in a matter of seconds. That physical load of 800-pound steers that we talked about on today's market will cost you $160,000. That's cash money on the barrelhead. You don't make payments. You can't pay for part of them today and part of them next week, and then the rest of them when you get them fat. It's cash on the barrelhead. And a commodity futures trader can control the same load of cattle 4%. That's the margin money you have to put up. 4% of the cattle's actual value. That's $6,300. So the producer's putting out 160,000, and if you're trading it on the commodities, you can trade that $160,000 worth of cattle for $6,300 per load. The same holds true for the live cattle. A packer or a speculator can trade your $88,000 investment, 40,000 pounds at the current market of 220 for $3,600. And if you don't think that swap is happening right in front of you, and we see it all the time, you've got these huge spec accounts that will take our physical inventory that we're backing up with hard cash, and they can tie up the same amount of cattle for 4% of the value that we're putting up. It's happening right in front of us. And boy, if you haven't seen that in the last 30 days, the state mental hospital in Pueblo, Colorado, has your room ready for you. And you can sit right next to mine. We can play checkers. Lauren, really, this chaos and this unpredictability, in my opinion, if we hold true to the road that we're on, it'll do nothing but accelerate the mass exit of producers and feeders from our business. Over all my years of doing these, whether it was Facebook or the podcast with you, I have physically beat this point to death. And kind of a recap, from 1960 to 1970, it happened in the poultry industry. If you want to go research some of my work, all of you may remember what do you call the white stuff in chicken shit? And you can research that. In 1980, we went from over 600,000 pork producers to today, where we have 60,000. That's a 90% drop. Cattle production is ass deep into the first step that train wreck the pigs and the chickens. Eliminate the cash market. That's the first step. And I'll repeat that for you in the back. Eliminate the cash market. AMA's alternative marketing arguments. I read some of the comments. Please explain yourself when you say an AMA. That is called grade and steel. And my daddy was in it 70 years ago. It's been around quite a while. It's a pretty proven point. We just have a different name for it now. The ranch to rail product, the Walmart, completely vertically integrated. That's what they're trying to do in our business, from consumption all the way to the consumer. No cash market, no price discovery. Step 2, use imports to displace the domestic production. That sound familiar? Are we doing any of that? Give the packer more cheap imported product to dilute our homegrown beef with. That's a real smart move. And I think everybody ought to be able to see what's happening. Cattle producers down over 100,000 head. That's a 15% decline in producers in our business in just the last 5 years. And what I would say in closing, if you're part of the program or part of the problem, I hope that you tell your grandkids that you sold out, you wore your pink panties to work, so now they're in a position where they have to shovel shit or stock shelves with what's left in our American beef business. And that is where we're headed. And the writing's on the wall. And you don't have to be very smart to put two and two together and see where we're headed. So shame on you if you're part of the problem. And I understand it's a gift horse. It looks really good on the short term, but just step back for a minute and say, what are we really doing in our industry? When we're going vertically integrated, and I'm in the auction business, you bet. Am I biased? I'm biased as hell. But my ship's sailed. I'm gone. It don't make a shit to me. Do whatever the hell you want to. But it makes a difference to the next generation and the generation after that. And if you give a piss at all about all of them, ride to the front and kind of make your voice heard. And I'm not very hard to get a hold of. And if you think you've got the silver bullet that will help in this litigation, you can find my number. And believe me, I know how to get that heard, and I'll get it in the right people's hands. But it's accumulation of all of these things that are sending us down the road where we're at. And I understand why we're falling into these traps. So many people have no other choice of doing it, but you're part of the problem. And we've got to change this around. Can you do it? Can I do it individually? No. But maybe, and I give it a very slim chance based on their past history, but you're going to have to put it in the hands of the litigators and the government, and somebody's got to step up and enforce the rules that are already in existence. I don't know if they'll do it or not. I doubt it, but we got a shot. If you got a silver bullet, let me know. I'll get the message to people that need to hear it.
Absolutely. I think our biggest issue that we run into these days across all industries, not just the cattle market, it is the short term band aid on a bullet hole. Let's deal with this for now. We're going to get through the next 5 years, but you're not thinking about the 10, the 15, the 50 in advance of what actually is it going to take to make this cattle business something that you can hand down to the next generation. And you're not handing down $5 million worth of debt and all of these lawsuits and just different things that you tied yourself up in, and now you're leaving it for everyone else to handle and deal with. That's just bad character and bad business and in general, right? Like, I get it. It looks pretty. It's the unicorn that they put in front of you. That's like the magic bullet, right? That will fix what I'm in right now. It's going to get us out of debt. It's going to get us in a place where I can send my kids to college and all these things. And it's like, everyone means well, I think, when they do this initially, but it's the short term mindset that people get stuck in. And it's like, okay, this is going to fix us for the next 5 years, but you're not thinking that 10, 15, 20, 30 down the road of what it's going to be for your business, what it's going to be for your kids, or even if you don't have kids, what it's just going to be for the next generation of cattle producers in general.
Yeah, that's right. And nobody wants to take responsibility for that. And they think, well, in my little corner of the world, I don't have a very big effect on that. And that's not what I'm doing. But it's a cumulative effort that's going out there. And like I said, we're already into step one: eliminate the cash market. If you make a deal with the devil and you eliminate the cash market, I don't care what it is. I'm not begging for people to take their cattle to the auction. I think it's a tried and true principle, and it's a good one. But when you eliminate the cash market, you are at the mercy of the people at the top of the pile that are going to establish and set the price for you. There's no discovery. You will be dictated to, and if you're part of an AMA now, as 85% of them already are, you're already getting dictated to. And you think you've got some leverage, you got nothing. Ask the chicken shit boys. And to go back to that story, the white stuff in chicken shit is chicken shit too, is what it amounts to. And now all the poultry guys are raising and in the poultry business for the packer. And you know what they get out of it? Chicken shit. That's what they get. You can keep the litter. It's called litter, and do with it whatever you want to. Well, that's a business you want to get into. Just sign right up. Ask the hog guys how they got along. And we say, oh, no, we're a completely different dynamic than that. We've already entered into step one. And step two is the next phase. Maybe they don't want to own the land and raise the cattle, but you're selling to a feed yard guy, ultimately, at the end of the day, who's already in bed with them. He's a pass-through feeder. They've already got their thumb down on what they'll give for one. And we keep eliminating and eliminating and eliminating the supply of the people that are willing to bid on them, because 85% of the people that are buying your feeder cattle are already a pass-through feedlot that are in bed with the packer. So you're already selling them to them. So anyway, that's
What are
my
what are
take
your
on it.
thoughts on what are your thoughts on Brazil and the reimportation that we're going to see of Brazilian beef, and just everything that kind of has to do with taking that 40% tariff back off that got implemented this year?
Well, again, to reiterate what I said, when you are outsourcing to replace your domestic supply, there is no way that that can be good for the person that's investing 6, 8 months a year into their product. It doesn't matter how many cows you got or what the numbers are if you're outsourcing production. Yeah, we're down on our numbers. We're down on our numbers. There's no question about it. Fundamentally, that is a sound statement. But once again, when you start outsourcing your supply, it doesn't matter what you got over here, because we're going to fill the void with this foreign beef. Then, okay, so who's going to handle all this foreign beef? And we've talked about that before. It goes right into the hands of the people that can handle it. The packers are not evil. They're good businessmen. They are working within a complex that we've provided for them and taken every advantage of it, no different than anybody else would. They're maximizing the position that they're in. The problem with it is what they're doing is illegal. And we've got nobody to enforce the laws that are supposed to be in existence to stop these kind of things from happening. And we've let them get so big, but they're the ones that's going to get the foreign meat trade, and they're not going to call us up and ask us how many pounds of Brazilian beef we want. They've got to go in the same hands, and what do you think those people will do with it? I don't know how they're going to regulate it or how they're going to handle it, but they've already got a free run of mixing our product with that product, diluting it out. They're buying it at a reduced price. Then they can hand to mouth and pass it out. Hamburger, you can freeze it forever and price it where you want to, where you think it'll move, where you think the consumer will sell it. Again, they have the luxury. They don't have a perishable product at that time. Freeze it and then pass it out at whatever price you want to. And we've got a government that thinks that's going to lower the price. You got 4 people controlling the whole damn meat market, and you're going to give them more product to sell, displacing the local supply. What's that do? That puts pressure on our own fat cap. We've got more supply to deal with now. We don't have to give you as much for your product because we're getting all of this cheap brush shit dropped in on us, and we can mix it and grind it and put it right out the front door, whatever the hell price we want to, because we're in control of the deal. It has had the inverse effect of what Mr. Trump thought it would have. And I don't think he was malicious in doing it. I don't know. But you couldn't ask for a better scenario if you're a Packer, because they know their numbers are limited. That's why they shut the plant down. And they will use that to their advantage. But holy mackerel, it's a gift from Jesus. We get all of this meat coming in now. We got more product to sell. Cripes sakes, you got to get hit in the head with a brick to figure that shit out? I don't know. I really hope, and I like Rollins, and I still do, and I'll get all the haters on there. Well, you just come so close to admitting it, but you never did. You're still in bed with the guy, and you damn right I am. But she has done some things. I think we've taken the Mexican border issue out of the market. If you have listened to her, she has indicated this is going to be a gradual process. I think that's a big deal. I think there's a lot of cattle setting down there. I know she's getting pressured from the Texas boys because that is the model that they have fallen into. There's plenty of other cattle in Texas. Go buy all them. But we're locked into whether it's feeding these Mexicans or getting vertically integrated with a beef on dairy that just feeds clickety, clickety, click every time and produces the same end result. That's easy to fall into. And so when that goes away, why we're pretty upset. But there's plenty of auctions in Texas. There's plenty of cattle down there. Feed something else besides displacing our local feeder cattle and calves with them Mexicans. And so the cattle are out there. Just go get them and let the market decide what they're worth. But again, I don't think the Mexican deal is going to shock the futures market, maybe like we were really worried it was going to. She has kind of give us a little insight and a little information into that, is that we're going to walk into it slow if she does what she says she's going to do. And and we've seen some rebounds in the futures, and I think it's a combination of that. And back to your Brazilian question, I believe after they sell so much meat, then the quota kind of, or the tariff goes back up. I'm not up on all of it, or whether they've dropped the whole thing and they can just flood the market with it. That I don't know. But really, I think we've seen the highs and they've ran her down pretty good. And hopefully now maybe we're seeing some level ground where this is where we're going to start trading cattle at. But I don't know, because you've got all these external forces that, like I said, in the last 30 days, you haven't been around much if you haven't seen what the government and what the emotion and what the speculators and everybody, that what they can do to our grassroots producers. It's never been more evident than it's been in the last 30 days. And I just give you the numbers to back it up with. And you can check them if you want to. They're right.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, John, thank you for your insight today, for your thoughts, your opinions. It's been great to have you back and hey, I enjoy these. I get to sit back and I just get to take it all in, and I love your thoughts and opinions and your candor that you bring for everyone. And you know what? The haters are going to hate in the comments. I read them too. And you know what? I get a good laugh over them with a glass of wine in the evenings. So I think that's the best way to
No,
do it.
and that's fine, and that's great. That's what makes the
Yes,
world go round. You know what I mean?
exactly.
And I appreciate them, and there's a lot of them I agree on, and I've been fact checked a number of times, and they've sure as hell been right, and I've been wrong. But you're getting a
And
big
we'll admit
picture,
it.
and
We'll admit it too.
yeah, right, and that's great. But everybody has to take it, value, and find what you can find in it, and process it. I'm not saying I'm 100% right. I'm just a legend in my own mind.
Absolutely. I love it, John. Well, thank you for your time today. To all of our audience members, thank you for listening to another episode of the Cattle USA Daily Podcast. We will see you all next time on another episode. Have a good one, y'all.